Diplomacy tab in Supremacy 1914 is a very on paper basic but critical source of information for you, and so if you feel like that you need to sharpen your skills on what to be looking for in the Diplomacy tab, then this is the tutorial for you. Now the Diplomacy tab can be found very easily. It's the second button down along here, and as soon as you click onto it, you get a flood of information. The first thing you're probably going to notice are all of these beautiful colourful flags along your left. This is going to be your first most obvious source of information as to what is happening along here. Long story short, it's a leaderboard. It gives you information about every last country currently on this map. The next thing you're going to see is the coalition that they're a part of. If you don't know what coalitions are, then go back a couple of episodes along this tutorial where you can fully understand what coalitions are in a very quick video. This gives you a really good insight into where the coalitions lie along the global rankings. So currently all of these countries are ranked by strength. I'm Spain, I'm currently at the top because I'm the most powerful nation on this map. And as you can see, the Imperial Council Coalition, which is my coalition, is currently at the top. However, you then get Austria-Hungary, Arabia, Transcaucasia, and Romania. These two countries belong to the Central Powers, and these two countries belong to another coalition. Now, what this shows anyone that's looking at this map is that although I'm at the top and I belong to this coalition, the next 4 powerful countries down all belong to 2 similar coalitions, which gives the impression that although I'm currently the strongest player, I probably don't have the strongest coalition, because the second and 5th strongest player belong to a coalition, and the 3rd and the 4th strongest players belong to another coalition. And so their coalitions are probably stronger than mine, and the reality is that they actually are right now. The next thing that you can take a look at on your Diplomacy tab, other than the names of the players, is then the number of provinces that they have. This is a really interesting gauge because although we're currently ranking all of the countries by their score, sometimes what you'll do is you'll click on this little arrow underneath provinces and it will completely change the order of the nations. And that is because although they might have a higher score, they might have less provinces. If you see a nation like Sweden, for example, they have a lower score than Romania and Transcaucasia. However, they have more provinces. And so this is another interesting thing to kind of just gauge what the largest countries are, not just by score, but also by how many provinces they're in control of. And talking about score, we'll get onto that right now. The score is probably the single most important value that you have to be focusing on in Supremacy 1914. And that is because once you reach a certain score, in this game it's going to be 1,000 for a solo win or 1,500 if you're in a team, then you win the game. And so making sure that you keep an eye on what the other countries are on when it comes to score, well, that is going to be very important for sussing out if someone's getting a little bit too big for their boots, someone's getting a little bit too dangerous. So I would highly recommend that you check out the score very, very often. We've missed something out though, sandwiched in between provinces and score, which is relation, your personal relation between individual countries. You can see what their relation is with you and then what our relation is with them. Obviously, you can't control or change what their relation is with us because that is completely up to them. However, we can take a look and change what our relations are with them. We can declare war on them, although we would not want that with Austria-Hungary because they are quite a powerful nation and I would very much rather remain friends with them for the time being. We can secure a trade embargo, which means if they do try to enter our territory, we will fire upon them, we will be offensive, and we can't trade with them, which is kind of like a weird kind of intermediary between peace and war, I suppose. We can give them right of way, which means they can go through our nation. We can give them a shared map feature, which means they can go through our nation, very much like the right of way, but we also share map with them. And we also have shared intelligence, which means any spies that are getting information for us, we can also share with them. And if you don't really know what spies are in this game, check out my most recent upload tutorial where you can take a little look in a bit more detail into what spies actually are in 1914. So lots and lots of relations you can have with people in this game, all controlled from the Diplomacy tab. Another very important thing that you can get from the Diplomacy tab is information on whether they are an AI nation or a player. Now, if we scroll down a little bit to some of the lower ranking nations right now, you will see that a few of these smaller countries, consisting of only maybe 5, maybe 3, another 3 here, provinces, are controlled by computers, not by actual real players. Now, this is done because in Supremacy 1914, not every nation you come across is actually a real player. They give you a bit of a head start. So if we take a look over here at Portugal that we very easily took over in this game, this was an AI player. They had no actual brain to them, really. And so I could very easily go in and take all of these provinces really quite easily. Very important tip is that if I were you, I'd go into these AI nations as quickly as possible because they do build up their defenses pretty quickly. They build up their armies quite strong as well. So yeah, go into that pretty quickly. It's a really good insight to have because you'll probably have less of a guard if you are bordering against AI nations because you know they aren't usually the most aggressive, they won't actually really attack you, and so that gives you the added benefit that you can start taking troops away from your borders with them and instead focusing on actual real players instead. Another very, very important part of the diplomacy tab is the information button. You can click on any of these nations. We're going to go for Austria-Hungary. We're kind of picking on them today. If you click on this, it will give you an insight, a very, very good insight into the nation profile. Now, this is going to be something I talk about in another tutorial episode because there is a lot to unpack on this. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But this is something that you should consider when you're looking at the diplomacy tab because it is a very important thing to be aware of. If you found this tutorial interesting, then make sure you leave a like below because it makes a world of difference to my channel. And if you've got unanswered questions still, then make sure you leave a comment below and I will guarantee that I will get back to you. I answer every single comment that is given to me down below, so make sure you leave one if you have any unanswered questions still, or any recommendations for future videos. If you like content like this and you want to see more Supremacy 1914 content, then make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss out on a brand new tutorial or gameplay video. Thank you so very much once again for watching, and I will see you all generals on the battlefield again very, very soon.